I had two different quotes to go with here. One being robot umps now, robot umps tomorrow, and robot umps in the future. I was trying to remember what that is a reference from. If you let me know, comment below. Or good teams find ways to win, bad teams find ways to lose. We're going to discuss these thoughts and more on a slightly depressed version of Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. Today's episode is brought to you by Birddogs. I'm wearing some right now. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. When you enter the promo code LockedOnMLB, they'll throw in a few free custom Birddogs Eddie-style tumbler for every order. I use that today as well. Over there is Justin. I am Jeff. In reference to my quotes, again, I'm trying to remember if it was like what world leader said that and what it was about. The Gabriel Arias should have been on first base there. Let's just put that out there. Terrible 3-1 call on him. Terrible. Two, before this, Justin and I are chatting. We're getting stuff together. I completely messed everything up. So big props to Justin for going through and fixing all of our beautiful graphics that you're seeing on the screen. But like this bullpen is 12th in the league in ERA. They're like just around 10th in WAR. Like it's a good bullpen, but it keeps finding ways to fail. The hitters keep finding ways to not get things. A year ago, they always hit everything right. They were a good team. Things came together. Maybe they were a lucky team too, but I think they were just a better fundamentally sound team. And this year, it just feels like they are always finding ways to give these games up and make it as heartbreaking as possible to have the lead late and then to have a good comeback and then to fall flat on their face. Today's show, we're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about Shane Bieber, who had another weird Shane Bieber start. Good and weird. That's Shane Bieber right now. We're going to talk about who's been hitting, who hasn't been, who's been hot, who's not. We're going to talk about the rest of this series and so much more. Justin, how do you want to lead us?
Well, first of all, I guess we should start with, let's start with the bullpen because that's the crux here, right? And you and I have both talked about De Los Santos getting more.
We were pushing for him in this.
Well, everybody was. If you look out there, everybody wanted to see more De Los Santos. And, he had a bad
show
night.
him more respect, Justin. They needed to show him more respect.
Yeah, he got opportunities. He was given opportunities, and he did not run with them. He's had a couple of decent ones, but the last couple outings, he got himself out of trouble. His last outing where things got ugly, and tonight he did against Boston. He was not able to because
didn't record an out tonight.
No, didn't
2
record
walks,
out. It was
4 hits. It was bad for our own narrative on the show because we're like De Los Santos and Sandlin need more opportunities. And then they both promptly came in and were my cat behind me with the litter box.
Yeah,
they were litter box in this one. It was bad for both. I mean, Sandlin 2 singles. At least he recorded an out. And then it was the perfect inning to be anti everything we stated this year because yes, Karinchak does get the sac fly, but at that point in time you take it. Even though that is the difference in the game is the sac fly. If only he could have gotten 2 strikeouts, this game would still be ongoing. But
they rallied back to score 4. I mean, that's the thing. Like you said, it's one thing to protect late leads. Like you can't really say, if you can't say you have a late lead and it's 2-1. Like they scored 2 runs in the first inning. Going into the 8th inning, they were up 2-1. And I know that's a late lead, but I'm sorry, that's not a late lead. I'm not going to pin this all on the bullpen because you can't.
What is when you give up 4?
Yeah, well, it is. They would have won the game, obviously, if the bullpen did its job, but they didn't do their job. But also, I'm not taking a 2-1 lead as something that's going to be concrete either because it's a 1-run lead and you score 2 runs. Like it's different if you have a 6-5 lead versus a 2-1 lead. You have the offense is giving you 6 runs. You've got to do better with that. The 2-1 lead though it's so close, and you haven't scored a lot there. You didn't score a lot over the weekend in Minnesota except for Thursday, so. You're putting these guys into more 1-run games, and look at this. They lost in a 1-run game tonight because they were able to come back, and they lost by just 1 run. There were a couple things. I mean, Shane Bieber's error, it wasn't called an error. He threw to center field.
Fielder's choice.
Yeah, fielder's choice. I mean, that didn't help them. So that that's a run right there that probably wouldn't have scored. That last run did score. That's still 4-4. You never know how those things can go. So, like you said, bad teams find ways to lose games. That even though that's not an error on Bieber, it goes as a run scored because that run would have not scored it. I don't understand. Did they not give him an earned run for that? Because
no, he got an earned run because it's a fielder's
choice. It's a fielder's choice. But he shouldn't have made that throw. He shouldn't have done that. So
it was a brain fart. Like there's no reason to go to second. You got a guy with good speed. Even if he's off the base, you go to first. You take the sure out. Like that's a dumb play. And again, that is this team not being great at fundamentals. That is a dumb play. Yeah, and it's a moment where they're fundamentally unsound again. There was no reason to go to second.
Yeah, so that bad play hurt them, but at 2-1, like I said, I'm still going to hit. I know the offense came back to score 2 runs, but and 4 runs has kind of been their magic number for the last several years, truthfully, because of how good the pitching has been. But I'm sorry, you can't hand your bullpen a 2-1 lead and say, "Here you go." I know it's tight, but take it. Like you can't always. This is why the team is in the position.
I mean, that's what a bullpen's there for, though, is to hold onto that lead. You got to be, especially when you're paying some of these guys money, went out and did extensions. You got to have.
Fine, but look how many times they've done it this year.
But
you can't consistently give them a 1-run lead and say, "Damn it, protect this." Like you can't just say. That's how this works. Like you have to be able to.
That's how bullpens are supposed to work. Like at the same time, like you gotta. I know the bullpen seems to only. Right, not only, but like I would love to see the difference when it is a lead versus when they're losing. Like I don't know how to split that data up, but I guarantee you that we'd see drastically different numbers. For whatever reason this year, when they have a lead, the bullpen, this whole team is tight.
It's never one person. Like it's never early on, like
it's a new person every time. Like I mean, it was early on, but he's been solid. Now it was Enyel in 2 straight games. He was not good last time. Sandlin wasn't great last time. Clase has had his issues. I mean, everyone's having their issues in this pen.
Yeah, they've all taken their turns having rough nights. So that's why when you look at the overall numbers, like the bullpen on its whole is not terrible numbers wise. It's kind of mediocre. And because everybody has taken their turn kind of having a blip on the radar. And like you said, Stefan has had blowups. Clase has had blowups. Karinchak has had early blowups. And he's, he had middle of the season blowups or whatever you want to call it. He goes in waves. Sandlin, the last couple outings has kind of struggled, and Henches was kind of tough coming back, but he's been good. And now here, De Los Santos is finally struggling for the first time. It's like, they all take turns, and that's what hurts this team. But I know, like I said, the offense came back and scored 4 runs, but the reason this team is where it is because they continue to have to try to. That's the reason Emmanuel Clase leads the league in blown saves. Yes, he didn't get the job done. He was having some mechanical issues and those kind of things, but they've been in a lot of 1-run games because they have not scored runs, and you keep handing your bullpen minimal leads to protect. And guess what? That's going to happen. Like your bullpen's not going to be great every year. Bullpens are very rarely good year to year. The bullpen was great last year. It's okay this year. It's got its warts, and good bullpens hide when you screw up, when you make the play like Shane Bieber made, when you only score 2 or 3 runs a night. Good bullpens can cover that up to make you look like a better team than you are. And I think a lot of times last year, especially early, the bullpen being as good as it was covered up some of their warts. And obviously the offense came around a little bit later in the season last year when all these guys were coming up and starting to find their footing. Like, Jimenez was solid all year, and Brennan came up was good, and Quan was good. But early in the year, the bullpen hit a lot of their warts. Maybe they wouldn't have survived the early part of the season with the bullpen being as good as it was. And guess what? The bullpen isn't as good as it was a year ago right now, and that's why they're not surviving. So I know
the bullpen gave up 4 runs, though. It's squarely on them in this one.
De Los Santos screwed up tonight. There's no doubt about that. I'm just saying, as a whole, you continue to give them 1-run leads. This is going to happen. You give them one, and like I said, it's different when it's 6-5, but when it's 2-1, that's going to happen. You're going to get burned. When you ask your team to play this many close games, you're going to get burned. And they played a lot of 1-run games a year ago. We've talked about it on the show. 1-run game, winning 1-run games is not a skill. It is luck. And it's driven by bullpens. And the bullpen was great last year. It's not great this year. So it's something we should have seen coming from this team, that, they were very good in 1-run games a year ago. And it's not a skill that carries over year to year that you can count on, because bullpens are volatile, good or not. So this is why teams are always trading for relief arms. So maybe it's something we should have seen coming, that, and you talked about it yourself, Jeff, with the overuse of Clase and Stefan. And I know they didn't pitch tonight, which is, kind of odd to be talking about all this, but when you do overuse your bullpen, these are things that also happen.
The interesting thing, to go back to like my previous point too, it's like when you look at overall, it's a solid bullpen, but if you're looking at some of the advanced statistics like clutch and in those big moments where they're terrible. They're one of the bottom 10 teams in baseball. So it's a top 10 bullpen when things are going well, but like everything else on this team this year. And I know you and I have different opinions on this, but the hitters, the pitching, everyone is so flipping tight that they're
never doing all things good at once. They never
but
play.
It's not even doing all things good at once. It's as a team, everyone is so tight. Like there is no looseness to this team. And that's part of what I feel like management has to be figuring out and getting behind. But like this bullpen is good when they're losing and mediocre to bad when they're winning, because they get tight in that situation. The hitters, it's the same thing. I know we got to take a break and come back, but like when you dive into the numbers, it's very clear that this is a bullpen that is wilting under pressure, which is the whole team this year, which is why they're 6 games under 500 and why they are not a good team.
Yeah, real quick here, I'll give you relievers, bullpens this year in high leverage situations. So high leverage, you can take that for what you want to take it for. I don't have a thing here that says if they're leading or not. I have all the data for when the bases are loaded, when they're not, all that stuff. But if you just look at it high leverage, as far as fielding independent pitching, the Guardians are 18th in baseball at the 421 FIP. And then in terms of ERA and high leverage situations, they are that can't be right. This says they're 7th and they're a 5. Wow. Okay, so there are a lot of bad bullpens in high leverage situations. The Milwaukee Brewers have a 2.15 ERA in high leverage situations. The Guardians are in 7th. They have the 7th best ERA in baseball.
But that's why
it's a 5.27. It's a 5.27 ERA.
That's why I'm kind of, because high leverage is only when there's like runners on base, not necessarily the situation where it's like the one run. That's why I was looking specifically at the win probabilities, which has like Milwaukee's win probability is a 4.61 when you put in the bullpen with the lead. Cleveland's is 20th in baseball with a negative score. So like Cleveland's bullpen in high leverage might be better than most, but when it comes to,
well, it's not good. It's still a 5.27 ERA. So it's still
but
bad.
I mean, still in general though, they're bottom 10 when it comes to having a lead and maintaining it. Like I said, everything's tight with this team right now, but we got to take a break, pay some bills. We're going to come back and talk about Shane Bieber, who had a very weird day. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. We want to thank BetterHelp for coming back to the show. We always appreciate all of our fantastic sponsors. And BetterHelp, I've talked about my own issues with anxiety. I've had issues with depression, spin a wheel. Those issues pop up for me at various points in time. I laugh because sometimes that's what you do when you're uncomfortable talking about things like that or needing help. And BetterHelp is there to provide help, to be a voice, someone to talk to. And it's always easier to get through those rough times when you have someone there to talk to. And fill out a questionnaire. They'll match you with a therapist. Not all therapists work out at the first time. So, hey, they'll switch you for free if it doesn't work, but it's probably going to work the first time. So find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnMLB today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnMLB.
And the Guardians are back in action again Wednesday night at 7:10. You can hear the call on SiriusXM. Jim Rosenhaus, Tom Hamilton have the hometown call, and I believe it is Tanner Bybee and Chris Murphy, I think, is the pitcher. He's a prospect for the Red Sox. So search Guardians on your XM app. Okay, Shane Bieber. Not a bad start.
I got one more interesting bit of information before we dive into Shane Bieber. Cleveland's bullpen has the highest barrel percentage in terms of giving up the most barrels of any bullpen in baseball. So there is that. People are seeing the ball. They're also in getting hit. So there's that. They're not as high in hard hit, but for whatever reason, their bullpen is.
I'd love to know how much of that is Karinchak too, since he obviously has given a lot of home runs this year.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting. Like they are high in exit velocity as well. Hard hit though they're not. So that's a weird combination to not see those together. And they even have bullpen launch angle in Cleveland. They are getting higher launch angles, but I don't know. That doesn't feel like that's a very team dependent thing. But that's just kind of something to throw out. But yeah, Bieber. Sorry, I interrupted. Everyone's favorite thing for me to do.
Yeah, I mean Bieber was fine. He got into some trouble with 2 outs, but he got out of it, unlike his last start where that was an issue against Baltimore. Didn't get a lot of swings and missed the fastball. Got a lot. I mean, kind of your typical Shane Bieber start at this point, truthfully. I mean, he was 91, 90, 92. The fastball he threw for strikes. And he threw a lot of fastballs to the Red Sox his last time out. And the last time against the Red Sox, he, I believe, pitched into the 8th inning. If it wasn't the 8th, it was the 7th. So he had a really good start against them. And that was one of those starts we were talking like, this is a weird start. Like, did he not have command of his other pitches? He was very fastball heavy. And he had said, like, this is a team that expects me to throw spin. And they are waiting on me to throw them a slider or a curveball. And he didn't do that. And he was getting a lot of early outs. And he got very deep in that game.
7 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts in that one.
Yeah, it seemed like a weird game for him because he just threw a lot of fastballs and not a lot of strikeouts. And, since then, truly, this has been who Shane Bieber has been. He's going 5 or 6 innings most starts. He's striking out 2 or 3 batters a game, maybe 4. And he's giving up a run, maybe 3 at the most, except for obviously the Baltimore start wasn't very good. But I don't know. At the moment, this is who Shane Bieber is. Like, obviously, again, he had a bad start against Baltimore. And except for his weird decision to throw to second on that play, he was fine. Like, he gave up 5 hits. He scattered them. He only walked 1 batter. The Red Sox lineup is pretty solid. It's just this kind of feels like who Shane Bieber is right now. I mean, he's still not relying on the breaking stuff. He did throw the slider 23 times, and he got 3 swings and misses. It's not that devastating right now for him. And the curveball from 2020, as we've said in the show before, is not there. It's just
no, it's gone.
And I don't know if it's a mechanical thing, if it's a
he seems afraid to throw it.
Again, yeah, I don't know if it's a shoulder thing from 2021 or, like I said, I hate to accuse and say it happened at the same time of the grip substance crackdown too, where he had an issue throwing it for strikes, and the RPMs have also gone down with it.
You look at this
fastball
team,
spin is still good, so I really can't say it's a grip thing either with him. Truthfully,
yeah.
He was good with the same velocity last year. I think we've had this conversation over and over. It's just I really don't know how to explain it other than he's just pitching very differently now. Because he was fine with his velocity last year. He struck out not a lot of batters, but he struck out an adequate number where you felt good about it.
I mean, he was still over 8 a year ago.
Yeah, now it's what, 5, 6?
I mean, he's going to be down there with. He's Josh Tomlin. I mean, he is a plus Josh Tomlin. He's going to have the lowest strikeout rate in baseball, and it's hard to not look at what he is doing with that year that he probably should have gotten surgery and didn't, and look at Jose, who we'll get to in segment 3, who's been a disaster of late. Where like these 2 guys delayed, and is that still affecting them now? Like, is this the cost of putting things off? Is this, is 1 year worth, 2 to 3 years down the line still seeing the after effects? And when these are supposed to be your top 2 players, it's impossible to ignore it when there's that similar story with both of them right now. And yeah, it's, if he doesn't, so there's the double, the fielder's choice should have been an out. Then he strikes out Devers for a second strike out of the game. And then Cassis flies out. So he's done. He gets through 6, doesn't give up any runs if he just makes the correct call.
Right. And this game is still tied, even if De Los Santos still, craps to bed.
And, then in because that was the 6th. So yeah, in the 7th, Henches comes in. Henches already came in the 6th, but like if you don't get into that situation, then Henches comes in for your 7th, and it just changes the outlook a little bit. And it's just the unfortunate thing is, like, again, Bieber is not like based on 1 start. If the postseason were starting tomorrow and for some reason this team was in it because the 26 best teams in baseball make the postseason or something, like it would, I'd be like, no, McKenzie should start, because we've seen more stuff in 1 start with McKenzie, more nasty stuff than we have with Bieber. Bieber can hit his spots, and that's the thing. Like Tomlin he had good control, but not great command. That's the separator. That's the difference. Bieber still has plus command, I would say. Tomlin was, that's why Tomlin was a little more home run prone. The command on the pitch wasn't always there. And that's a separator I see, as well as, some better secondary offerings. But Bieber right now, he's a 2, he's a 3. He's not a number 1, and it's quite the decline. And, like I said,
the fact that he pitched as well as he did tonight, truthfully, is is good. I mean, that's what I'm saying, where he's at. The fact that he pitched as well as he did, that's what I'm saying. The outing you got from Bieber tonight is who he is right now. That's not a bad thing. Like, he's still doing fine. So there's nothing to really sit here and say, like, he's not a good pitcher. It's just, like you said, he's not
the ace. He's not the guy who's going to put.
He's not an ace. Like we talked about, he wouldn't be a game one starter for a lot of playoff teams. And you just said it here. Like, it's,
Yeah. I mean, I think outside of like Baltimore, he's probably not a starter. And don't come after me with St. Louis. I think St. Louis has multiple better options right now. People didn't like that last time, but I'll stand by that. That I think there's.
Well, guess what? St. Louis is a crappy team right now too.
Yeah, too. So it's not like it matters.
You don't have to worry about that. St. Louis.
But yeah, I just think that. I mean, I'm still concerned. Like, it was a solid start, and that's the thing with it. We're like, every single time it's a solid start, but there's still concerns with Bieber.
I'm not concerned in the fact that he's not a good pitcher anymore. I think he's still a good pitcher.
Yeah,
you could be concerned that he's never going to be the 2020 or 2020. Well, okay, we got to stop extricating things from 2020 altogether. Everything.
Yeah, I mean, he's not even going to be the 2021 version of himself right now.
Or yeah, the 2019 version was an all-star.
I'm sorry, the 2022 version of himself.
Yeah, I mean, you could be concerned he's not going to get back to that. The pitcher he is right now is fine. It's not great. It's fine. It's, again, he pitched well against Boston. He deserved to win that game. He made one, boneheaded move there, which I'm sure he wants back. And did it cost him the game? Yeah, kind of, because the game would still be tied, but at that point, the offense hadn't scored a lot of runs, and the bullpen still didn't do its job. So I'm still agreeing with you there. But yeah, I mean, he pitched fine, and that's Shane Bieber is fine. Like, that's who he is. He's fine. He's good. He's not great. So, score 4 runs and win usually, and that didn't happen. So, I'm not faulting him for the loss. That's for sure.
No, it's like, but it's just, again, to me, it's squarely on the bullpen, and then this team, it always has 1 to 2 bad fundamental plays every game, and we had that Bieber's was the one, and it was costly, and a year ago, we just didn't see that as much.
And a good bullpen would have covered all that up. But guess what? The bullpen isn't great right now. All right. And we've harped on the pitching. Let's talk about the hitting here in just a moment. I got to start packing for my honeymoon like tonight after we're done recording this. So I will be packing my Birddogs. Birddogs make you look good. They feel good. These shorts, I'm telling you, you can do them. I bowled in them a few weeks ago. I wore them to dinner over the weekend. I'm taking my honeymoon. You can do a lot of things in Birddogs.
I wore them to field day. Let me tell you, that's a challenging day for a teacher. I went to my Birddogs.
They are versatile. They are comfortable. They make you look great. You could do anything with these. They're, like I said, the versatility for me is what stands out. They are super comfortable. So make sure you go to Birddogs and order a pair. Go to birddogs.com, LockedOnMLB, and enter promo code LockedOnMLB, and you will get a free Yeti-style tumbler. I'm still going to see if Jeff is going to use that throughout the summer now that school's almost over him. Birddogs.com, LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You will not want to take your Birddogs off, we promise you, unless you got to wash them. In that case, you're going to want to watch them off. But funny names, excellent comfort.
And don't forget to check out tomorrow's game on SiriusXM. Just type Guardians in Sirius, and they will do all the work for you. So So one of the good stories of late has been Will Brennan, and one can't help but feel like, I thought about tonight, like, how has Brennan hit since? And I'm going to put the stats up here on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. This is including the Bird game. This is the Bird game itself since then. As you can see, Will Brennan's got a 200 runs created plus since then. And you can see Josh Naylor, Jose
Ramirez,
Stephen Qua, or Gabriel Arias, all over 100. Those are the big 4 guys that drive this team over the past few weeks. But yeah, then it goes Quan, then Zunino, then Straw, Bell, and there's Jose. And the only person hitting worse than Jose is Amed. The only person hitting worse than Amed in a small sample size are Cam Gallagher and Ty Freeman. So should we start with the positive? Do we want to end on the positive of just how nice Will Brennan's looked and like how much more confident you have to feel? And Josh Naylor hitting lefties today, giving him some credit for that.
He smoked that double off. I mean, he had a couple hits that got off lefties last week too. Like I don't, again, it's small sample size, but I don't know. I think we gotta at least keep watching. I mean, Naylor's going to keep getting at bats versus lefties because of how he's performing, and that's fine. He's hitting them
Right now, you got nothing to lose with it. So
right, what's your backup option? Because Gabriel Arias, when
should
I talk
play
about negative, well, he should. Well, should he though? Okay, here the
okay,
numbers against lefties are bad. Okay, so James Paxton absolutely owned him in that game. He threw nothing but fastballs, and Gabriel Arias looked like he was swinging a noodle up there. It was bad. And I went back to look at the minors to see numbers wise, and yes, platoon split wise, he always fared better against righties than lefties in the minors. So this is a thing for him. And there are certain stats we always tell you, like, they're not going to translate to the majors, or maybe they will, or they're easier to translate. And anything below AA is garbage, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you look, and Arias, for Arias' credit, he did skip AA. That's wild. But in AAA, all his time in AAA, whether it was, the last 3 years, 2021, 2022, and he hasn't been down this year. So the 2 years in AAA, not good against lefties. So
can I tell you what his numbers are this year? So against righties, he's got a 149 weighted runs created plus. So against righties, he's nearly 50% better than the league average. Against lefties, 12. And this is a big concern for me because, and I apologize if I got loud there, we know from Miles Straw a year ago that it does not seem like Tito knows when a guy has a reverse platoon split. Like he played guys, or Owen Miller, who had reverse platoon splits. Like those guys kept getting played and getting moved up in the lineup just because they were righties. And that's not always the case.
Because apparently you have to shortstop second. That's all the time.
It's a law. They don't want to go to jail. But like, Gabby, you're right. He maybe shouldn't play. This should be maybe a strict platoon. It should be a strict platoon with Gabby and Amed. And that would probably be actually really productive. Call me crazy, but I think we're kind of that point where you look at it and you're like, oh, maybe this should be like Amed versus lefties, Gabby versus righties. Am I insane?
And then you bring in Arias as a defensive replacement late in the game for Rosario.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I know people were getting all up in arms tonight about, Rosario's not playing. Rosario's not playing. He was only out with a knee injury. He's going to be back playing on Wednesday night. So, whatever. But yeah, against lefties, Arias is not great. Rosario has been good, although I don't think it's been good this year. I'd have to.
He's still got a split. He's closer to average. But yeah, neither is quote unquote good. But yeah, he was, I think, in the 80s with that one.
The good news is there are more righties than lefties, so that gives Arias more.
Yeah, it's
bats.
I think it's 80% of the innings thrown in baseball are by a right-handed pitcher.
And against righties, with Rosario on the bench against righties,
149 with Gabby.
Yeah, and if Rosario on the bench too, it gives you an option to either pinch hit against lefties or to pinch run. And there's value in that. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They don't have to tank Rosario's value in the offseason. Let's be honest. I think we said this before. That's what's happening here. Is they are playing Rosario because they do not want to take.
Right. Rosario's a 123 this year against lefties. I was wrong. He's still killing lefties.
Well, there you go.
39 versus righties. So you got
There's your problem right there. Hey, play Rosario against lefties.
If you combine those two, a 123 and a 149, guess what? That's the Guardians' best hitter this year. Like if you make them a two-headed monster, that is the Guardians' best hitter.
What was that year where I think it was it Geyer or Rayburn and
it was Rayburn and Chisenhall,
and they combined to be one of the best hitters in baseball
or if you're older like me, thinking back fondly to Ben Brassard and Eduardo Perez.
Yes, they were one.
They traded one for Chu and the other for Asdrubal.
That was great.
They traded the platoon was so good. Seattle acquired both parts, and Cleveland made out like bandits. That was one of the
trade for Seattle
highlights of Mark Shapiro era. Right
I'm not surprised about Will Brennan though, and the great news for him is because Will Brennan in the minors has also had platoon split issues. He has not been super good against lefties in the minors. Not as bad as other guys. Like it's not extreme, but it's still enough to say, okay, he may struggle against lefties. And Bo Naylor has this problem too. But he had a great night tonight against Boston. He's been hitting the crap out of the ball lately. I'm super glad to see that. Now, the stat you did say he's only walking 2% and he's got a 400 BABIP. So, some of those things are a little unsustainable. I don't think he's going to have a 207 WRC plus the rest of the year.
He can't be Mike Trout.
He's been worth half a win.
Mike Trout.
He's been worth half a win the last 10 days. That's wild. But no, I'm not surprised to see him. This is the kind of hitter he was in the minors. Now, not 207 weighted runs created plus good because only Aaron Judge has been that good. Yeah, even Mike Trout's been that good. So But I still think he's coming around. I'm excited for him. Jimenez looks better. Naylor, is starting to see the results turn like we said he would. Even Josh Bell tonight had that double in the first inning off Paxton, and then in the rally in the 8th inning, he didn't hit a ball super hard, but he lifted it in the air. He didn't hit a ground ball, and he popped into the outfield, and that helped them out too. So like some of these guys are starting to come around. Okay, Jimenez only had a walk tonight, but some of these guys are starting to come around. I just
again, if you
Jose Ramirez,
you throw this back up, it's like you can see that, or just like so. Fangraphs roster resource page is useful, but it's not perfect. But they have like their 7-day power rankings, and I have no idea exactly what those mean. But Naylor being 3rd in baseball, Jimenez 17, and Brennan 31st, and those 3 guys are playing well. Gabriel Arias is 105. Like that's you have some parts and pieces that are positive. Jose, I mean, is he having like flashbacks? Is he remembering this is about when he broke his thumb a year ago? I'm very worried that like, and again, one of those things I think is the absolutely most infuriating bit about that is that, hey, I broke my thumb. I'm going to play through it and I'm going to hit in the home run derby. Like, let's just put extra pressure on that.
Yeah, well, they made him hit right-handed if he was going to do it for whatever reason. Because that was.
But that should have been just a no. That should have been a no. That should have been like no way. But I'm just worried that he developed bad habits or gotten bad rhythm. He is nowhere near the guy he was a year ago. The chase rate, everything else could just be better reports on him too. Teams know to spin and throw everything as a spin. But I mean, right now he's not a top 5 third baseman in the American League.
Yeah, it's definitely it's not what you want. It's a struggle. Okay, so I don't know what you do with him. Again, this team isn't going anywhere until Jose Ramirez starts playing like an MVP. That's what they need from him with the offense they have. So this team, I mean, they will go as far as Jose will take them. And that's not to say this is all on him, but they will go as far as he will take them.
I mean, this is one of the worst stretches of his career as he's approaching age 31.
I mean, this week alone, okay, since that walk-off hit against the Cardinals, he has a 35 WRC plus. His OPS is 509. He's striking out 12% of the time, which is still good, but 31% or 34. Okay, it's a 30% infield fly ball rate. A lot of pop-ups, and he's had that issue in his career. Remember, that was the 2018-2019 struggle for him. At the end of 18, beginning of 19, he was hitting a ton of balls in the air on the infield. So he just is really kind of messed up there. I mean,
he had a 102 runs created plus heading into the game. He might fall below 100. He might turn into a below league average bat for the year. That even when he hurt his thumb, he didn't do that. Now he was about average all of last year. So now we're talking about a guy who has been average for a year. Now there was a broken thumb in there, but now we have a year of average and he's recovered from surgery.
Right. And what is going on? He is officially at 100 right now. Yeah. The average offensive line this year and right now in baseball is 260, 330, 430. And that's where Jose is right now. But guess what? He is still your best player, position player wise, at 1.2 wins above replacement. Nobody else is that good. All right.
Because he's still a solid defender. So he's bringing some value there. But
yeah, they got to get that. Something's got to give here. Wednesday's matchup, 7-10, is Tanner Bybee and is Chris Murphy, another lefty. So we'll see what they do. Rosario is supposed to be back in the lineup there on Tuesday or Wednesday. So, against lefties, they did have that base hit late in the game. And that was off of Brady. So, it is what it is. But we'll see. I'm guessing Arias will probably play. Oh, no. Maybe Brennan will play right and Naylor will play at first and Bell will be in the lineup. So maybe there won't be any Arias. Maybe he gets the day off. Murphy, if you want to feel good about something, Chris Murphy is a lefty, but he had a 77 ERA in AAA this year and a FIP over 5, close to 6. He has not been good. He has not had an ERA below 5 for over a year now. He in 2022 at AA, he had a ERA under 3 and a FIP around 3, so that was fine. But last year in AAA and this year in AAA, he has been getting absolutely shellacked. So
I remember him being that guy like University of San Diego who could miss bats but had terrible control in college. But this team doesn't walk. But like that's the thing, you have to be patient with him tomorrow because this is a guy who does not command his pitches or his control. I don't know if he commands them. Let me change that. His control was always questionable, and that isn't
and he doesn't have he has like one good pitch. That's his changeup. He doesn't have another really standout pitch.
Which, as we know, a changeup typically works better against like your part of the platoon. So it's like it doesn't work as well for him against righties. It's kind of a platoony pitch, right? I have that right?
No, it should be good against righties.
Yeah.
The changeup is supposed to keep righties off balance. So
okay, righties off balance, but it's not as effective against lefties.
Correct.
Isn't it? Yes. Okay. Head it back.
In theory. Well, usually not a lot of guys will throw left or same side changeups unless you're really good or you're Tanner Bybee or Eli Morgan and you have a plus changeup and just throw it to anybody. All right, well, Tanner Bybee is going and he has a good plus changeup, so hopefully that's enough. Hopefully they can give the bullpen more than a 1-run lead to protect.
It should be advantage Cleveland. Now originally it was going to be Cutter Crawford and
He's
then
supposed to go
Murphy
Wednesday.
Thursday.
Or I'm sorry, Cutter Crawford's supposed to go Thursday from what I saw.
So they flipped those because at one point in time it was the other way. But either way, Crawford's been tough at points this year. So that's an interesting matchup against Savale correctly.
Or maybe it is going to be Crawford. I saw a Red Sox beat writer say it was supposed to be Murphy Wednesday and Crawford Thursday, but maybe they flipped those. So either it's Crawford tomorrow or today and Murphy Thursday, or it's the other way around, like we said. So one of the two.
So according to Bart, it is Cutter Crawford tomorrow with to be announced. That was 1 minute ago. It's Cutter Crawford tomorrow. So that's 1 minute ago via Bart Swain, and then the to be announced is Aaron Savale. And then all of their games coming up after this Cutter Crawford, all of the matchups are to be announced as of now in email format. So it is it's going to be a fun, interesting time because apparently nobody knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, the Red Sox rotation is. I mean, James Paxton's their best starter right now, and he showed it.
Yeah, and then you got Houston, where apparently it's all on the fence as of yet too, or right? No, Cleveland has Houston next.
Well, we know McKenzie's going Saturday. So.
Well, no, we have all the Cleveland ones, but all of Houston is to be determined. Houston's apparently not releasing anything, so just random fun. But speaking of random fun, we hope even though the show, listen, after a loss, it's hard to hit the positive trail, and especially when a team is 6 games under 500, that we told you all year to bet the over on. It is a disappointing season in Cleveland. We're looking for fun things to talk about. Hopefully we'll have some more, and this team will come back and get a win tomorrow with their ace on the mound. One Tanner, I don't know his middle name, Bybee. And I want to thank you all for listening, rating and reviewing. Downloading it helps. Make sure you download daily, and go Guardians, go.